Alright guys, welcome back to another episode here on Grow the Earth. If you've noticed, we've had a little bit of change in the garden from the last time y'all saw me. What we did is we put in wood chips in between all the raised beds around here and in the far walkway away from me here up against our sidewalk. And we actually got all of this for free. Now, we had to put a little sweat equity into it because we had to move it in here, but we actually paid nothing for the materials. Now, there's a couple of different ways you can do this. We actually had a neighbor down the street who was getting a bunch of limbs and trees chipped by a tree company, and I simply went over and asked them if we could have the wood chips, and they were more than happy to drop them, because if they don't drop them to somebody like me or you, if this is what you want to do with your garden, then they've got to pay somebody to drop them off. So whenever you're doing this, you're actually saving them money, and they usually are more than happy to do it. I slipped the guy 20 just for his time and his effort and my appreciation for it, which that goes a long way, especially if you have it done more than once. But other than having to wheelbarrow it in here from the driveway, which it took some sweat and some time and some effort, but now I don't have to worry about all the weeds and all the grass being in between our raised beds. So again, this is just wood chips. This is tree limbs that went through a big chipper. And the reason you want to use this and not particularly like a mulch, it's because this is going to not break down into soil very, very quickly at all. What it's actually going to do is it's going to smother out all this grass and all these weeds that are in between the raised beds, and it's going to allow us to kill all of that so that we don't have to deal with it anymore. Now, there is a couple of things that I will say that, like right now in the wintertime, and if you can see, I'm in a pair of shorts, and that's because we're along Texas Gulf Coast, and usually we don't really get our really cold weather until January, February. But in the wintertime here, you have less sunlight, of course, you have lower temperatures, and that means our grass and our weeds are not growing that well. So if we put down 3 or 4 inches of this chipped wood, it's going to smother it out because it doesn't have the energy to continue to grow. So one thing I will caution you about is if you have a house with like wood siding or something, I wouldn't take this all the way up to next to your house, especially if your garden is right next to your house like ours is. Just simply because this may harbor termites, because you do have decomposing wood. So just keep that in mind. But again, this is going to be one of the cheapest and easiest upgrades to your garden that is going to pay benefits over and over again, because this is going to do a few things for us. For me especially, number one is I'm not going to have to mow this grass that's in between here and whip out the weed eater and all that nice stuff. And two, when I do the mowing and the weed eating in here, any weeds that have seeded, I don't have to worry about those seeds blowing into the garden beds and growing weeds in my garden beds. The other thing that is actually we found out that has been a really good blessing for us is when it rains, these wood chips hold a lot of water. And when we would come out here, it would be muddy and nasty in between these beds, especially right after I've mowed. Now, we walk on pretty much dried wood chips, and it actually does a good job of compacting all these wood chips down to make sure that the grass underneath doesn't try and pop up through. Now, if you have the errant weed that pops up through, you just simply have to move those wood chips out of the way, pull the weed, push the wood chips back down, stomp it a couple of times, and go along your way. But that is one of the things. And I know a lot of people talk about using putting tarp down or that weed barrier or even I've seen some people who went through the expense of using pea gravel and all that other stuff. And you can do that, but I can tell you that weed barriers are only weed barriers for so long. Pea gravel, you will invariably have weeds pop up between pea gravel. And then you're back to trying to treat the weeds to kill them off, to keep them from growing up through your pea gravel, which makes it exceptionally hard to get rid of those weeds, because now you've got to try and move pea gravel out of the way to pull your weeds up. Now again, the easiest way to come by these wood chips is, well, I mean, you can find you know, a neighbor or something who's getting some wood chipped, and just ask those people to drop it. You can actually call your local tree companies, ask if they do on-site chipping, and just ask them if they'll come and drop you a load of wood chips when they're in your area. A lot of your tree companies, unless they're specifically working with somebody who does you know, a company that does composting, they're more than likely going to be more than glad to drop them for you. And actually, there's a couple of online tools. I know specifically of a website called Chip Drop. The website allows the tree companies to actually have a directory of customers who want these wood chips, and it works in a way to where you can put out a request. Those other companies see that are working in your area, and they come and drop wood chips wherever you ask them to. Now, specifically in my area, there wasn't many people that used this app in my area, but I know in other areas it's actually quite prevalent, and a lot of people use it. So it's something you may want to look into if you don't want to do any more legwork like that. So guys, again, cheap and easy upgrade to your garden. I'm glad that you joined me for this. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. As always, I ask you to pray over your family, pray over your garden, and have a great day.